What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the BREWtally Speaking Podcast. I am one of your hosts, John, and with me, as always, is Daniel Terry, who, for the first time since we've had the intro music added to this, I can ask you, what do you think about that?
It's so brutal, man. It is actually, like, disgustingly heavy, considering that, like, you get the impression that, like, we only talk to people that, like, chainsawed babies in half or something. But, it's just really, really cool intro music. I mean, you can't turn it down. You guys came up with that. Can't turn it down. It's awesome. Yeah,
it was funny when I hit up Tom, and toward the end of it, like the process of like, this is what I'm thinking, kind of something like this. And then, he sent me another version of the song, or a version of a song, and then basically sent me what you hear, unmixed and unmastered version. And I was like, so, as I'm kind of getting everything all squared away to kind of go back through one of the old episodes that we had already done the intros for, I was like, so what do you want to call this? Like, do you have a working title or something? And he was like, nah, man, you can name it. And then I was like,
you get a piece of it, you can rename it.
From Major League 2.
Nice.
And I've been referring to it as Introduction to BREWtality.
I like that. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, okay. No, I thought it was a rip-off of a different band, but no, the one I'm thinking of is it was an Introduction to Death, and I think that's an old Blood Cups Cleansing song, so never mind.
Okay.
Yeah, right. Useless information.
That was your almost history lesson from Daniel Terry.
Yeah, well, I'm full of those.
Speaking of full of those, we have an interview for you with Brendan Murphy of END, which, I think the intro music playing in front of this episode today really fits. Their latest record, Splinters from an Ever-Changing Face, is out June 5th. When this episode drops, it'll be this upcoming Friday. We've been sitting on this for a little bit, and we wanted to kind of release this right before the record comes out, as we kind of talk quite a bit about the record itself. This thing is a motherfucker, man. Like, I know you and I championed, From the Unforgiving Arms of God EP, and, kind of made the comment, like, that got your work cut out for you, and these dudes brought it.
Dude, it is so... That EP was so heavy. I haven't actually listened to the album yet, but I got to get ready for it, because if it's anything like that EP was, oh my god.
This record is like suffocatingly heavy at times. Like, it just doesn't let you go. No,
and like I said, I haven't heard the record, but I like, and so everything I'm saying is in reference to the EP, but I like how he says, like, in the interview that, like, yeah, it's all just like a dirty, grimy sort of feeling, like hopeless feeling. You definitely get that. It is to put a word on it, their sound is absolutely oppressive.
Yeah, yes it is. We're going to play a fun game. I have 3 beers. Dan has no idea what I have, but I figured I'd let him pick the beer I'm going to try while we're doing this. So right now, I have a Mickler Vanilla Shake Beer Geek.
Gross. Okay.
It's a tall boy. I have this Boulevard Brewing from Kansas City. It's the Steep Drop. It is a Nitro Coffee Milk Stout.
Ooh, Nitro Coffee.
Yeah. And then, just for something really fucking weird that's from here in Michigan, I have a Cotton Candy Haze. It is a juicy New England-style IPA. Don't know if it's cotton candy flavored, but I figured I'll let Dan pick my beer for the evening to try while we're doing this.
Let's go with the Nitro Coffee. That sounds like something I would actually drink.
I think you can, because it's made from out in your area.
Well, it sounds good. I'll see if they have any at the local gas stations.
It's really weird. It's like, it does say on the can, wow. Dark Velvet Roast, and I was gonna say legitimately this just tastes like a a Nitro Coffee. Like, you got that like kind of roasty coffee flavor on the back end, and it's very smooth, very smooth on the front when you put it, like when you basically are tasting it for the first time. It's very smooth, and I don't know, this doesn't taste like a beer. It tastes just like coffee in a can.
Interesting.
I don't know if I would drink more than this can, but apparently this is brewed with fair trade small batch coffee.
Okay, what's an unfair trade?
A cow for a couple of beans.
The entire state of New York for beads?
Sure.
That might have been Manhattan Island. I can't remember now.
Staten Island.
It's another Staten Island. Yeah, I don't know. That's weird. Did I say Manhattan Island?
Yes.
All right, I'll just stand by it.
Okay. Anyway, so that's the review of the beer. I'll make sure. Oh wait, apparently I'm supposed to invert this can 3 times. Steep pour at 180 degrees, groove. Well, I guess maybe that's why it tastes a little interesting, because I didn't follow any of those rules. Typically, when you have a can of beer, you're not supposed to shake it or invert it 3 times.
Yeah, you really shouldn't do that.
No. So shame on you for having too many instructions. Random coffee I bought. Or coffee. Beer. Coffee. It's all the same.
Coffee beer is kind of the best because it puts you to sleep and keeps you awake. It's probably really good for your body.
Yes. It's like Jaeger bombs. You
gosh.
You get a depressant with a with an upper and a downer.
Don't get me started with Jaeger bombs, man. That's years in the past for me. I will never drink another Jaeger bomb in my life.
I don't really know where to go with that. I was going to make a reference to the End album, but I'm just not even going to try. So I mean, we're just going to let that fall flat where it is and fix it in editing, maybe. But anyway, this dude, like, I've been wanting to get him on since we did all the End chats like over a year or so ago at this point, because he is the last of the OG lineup that we didn't get. It's so funny because like I thought it was kind of fun talking to him about his online persona. We were talking before recording about how people sometimes say like you have different personas on this show versus discography discussion and so forth. And it's funny because in talking to Brendan, like, he seems very sincere and very honest in interviews and so forth, but on Twitter he's just like a troll. He's basically like Corey from Norma Jean. Like, there is who you get when you do interviews and when you kind of get to know him as the person, but then there's the online persona, which isn't necessarily that person either. But like you said, it doesn't fucking matter. It's just the internet.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
And speaking of the internet and being trolls, let's stop wasting your time and get into our conversation with Brendan Murphy of END, and we'll talk to you on the backside of it. It's a pleasure of talking to Brendan Murphy, vocalist of END, whose latest album, Splinters from an Ever-Changing Face, will be out June 5th via closed casket activities. That is a fucking mouthful of a sentence. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I know. Sorry to throw that at you. I don't know about you. I just woke up, but yeah, I'm not. That's not an album that you like to. That I want to start talking about the second I open my eyes, just because of how long the name is. But other than that, I'm good. I'm chilling.
I don't know what getting to sleep in this late is like after getting a puppy about a month ago.
Yeah, so. Yeah, understandable. Yeah. See, you got the puppy and stuff. My life's just like, my life is boring every day. All I have is Call of Duty now, so I'm like, so that's what I do. And yeah, it doesn't matter what time. I don't have to like walk it or take it, clean up after it or feed it or nothing. I kind of just like turn them on whenever I feel like it. So, but yeah, it's okay. Like I said, it's a bit boring being at home, but it's also kind of nice. It's like the longest amount of time I've had off in probably 11 years. So it's like, as much as I want to go on tour again and stuff, it's also kind of nice to just be like sitting around and, when people ask me about music stuff, I'm kind of just, or like, oh, what do you, are you going to record? Are you going to go on tour? I'm just like, we don't need to talk about that right now. Like, just let me have this, please. Like, let me enjoy my couple months and leave me alone.
Yeah, it was funny. I was talking to Joe from Dead, and he's like, I think this is the first bit of time off we've had in like almost 4 years.
Sure,
like, where it's just not been go. So it seems like, for you guys, it's actually a little bit refreshing to actually get a little bit of the normalcy of home life, as opposed to just constantly feeling the pressure of deadlines and needing to be someplace.
Sure. And I mean, like, I guess not necessarily for END, because we like when we do stuff, it's like, it's usually like small, like weekend run type stuff or whatever. But I mean, definitely for like my other band Counterparts, like it's very, that's very like go, whatever. But yeah, I mean, in terms of END, it's like, it's not much has changed, I guess, except like, I mean, we had that show in New York City with like Body Count and Cro-Mags get canceled. So that was a bummer, but whatever. I mean, I was already there. So I was like, well, at least I'm at the studio. I get to see everybody and hang out and stuff. So that part was nice. But yeah, I don't know. Everyone's kind of like adjusting to it. Everyone's doing their thing, doing their like, their like Zoom call stuff and, everything. So it's like, it's not, it could be a lot worse, I think. So it's like, as long as people, take it seriously, I think that the less people dick around, the sooner we'll actually all be able to like go outside and go to bars and go to shows and, go to the movies and do everything that we want to do. So it's just a matter of having like, self-control right now.
Yeah. Currently, I live in Michigan, in Grand Rapids, and Lansing is having another fucking rally of stupid people at the Capitol.
Yep.
So,
totally.
Did
you see the thing about I don't know if you're like a fan of it's like Tim Robinson. He has that show, I Think You Should Leave, like the whole like the Michigan protests and stuff like that, and everyone's like the lady like, oh, I want to look at my roots, I need to dye my hair, and then it like I don't know if it's real or not, but there's like it immediately cuts to Tim Robinson in his car, and he's like yelling at the news people, being like, this is around the time I go buy my Halloween stuff, like I'm not allowed to go out and buy my Halloween stuff, and like that is like, so because I know he lives in Michigan, and I was just like, man, that's like the funniest thing I've seen in years, like just totally fucking with him. Like I loved it. But I also like Grand Rapids a lot. You guys have Madcap Coffee, good spot. Founders that like, I mean, I think Founders did some like stupid shit lately or something. I think they got canceled, but like, it's right next to the intersection. But before all that stuff, we used to like eat there because it was so close all the time. But I'm sure it's just some old ass owner that like doesn't get it, and you know what I mean. Like I'm sure the people on the front line at Founders are probably like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? Like, how am I supposed to sell this fucking beer? But whatever. I didn't pay too much attention to it because it's kind of like a once a year restaurant I go to, so it wasn't like it hit home. It's not like somebody telling me that the guy who made The Simpsons is like a war criminal or something. But I'm sure it's different for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I have been using the Clerks 2 phrase a little bit, where I'm like, you can't taste the racism in the beer.
Sure.
So
fair enough.
It's good beer.
Yeah, fair enough. It's like, as long as like, I don't know, I get the weird thing where it's like, then it depends on what they spend their money on. Because there's like things that I like too, where it's like, if I love it, like it's like the argument about like Chick-fil-A, where it's like, we all know it kicks ass. Like there's no denying that it fucking rocks, but it does kind of hurt knowing that like some money that you're giving to somebody will go into something terrible. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm reserved with it, but so every now and then there's nothing else around. Like we're at a gas station, there's a Chick-fil-A across the street. Like, what am I going to do? I try, I do my best, but it happens.
Yeah, it was funny. I was talking to Patrick from Ice 9 / Affiance yesterday for my Instagram live thing. And I was like, dude, now I know how like touring band people feel, because like, my wife and I have been doing a lot of traveling in the last few years, and I was like, dude, I'm kind of craving a pink sandwich from the Pink, and going to the Elmar in Atlanta or whatever and getting some tacos and shit, and I'm like, it's weird that I'm craving food from not where I'm from.
But isn't that always it though? Like, isn't that the way it always works when you like we have it, like, because I'm in Canada, and it's like, the one thing I think about every single day without fail is Raising Cane's, and the closest one I think is in like Columbus, Ohio or something. It's like a 5 or 6 hour drive, and it's like, if there was one like around the corner, I'd be like, yeah, it's just Raising Cane's. But the people like don't know how good they have it, when it's that readily available. You know what I mean? So I think that's just kind of how it. That's kind of how it always is. Like we have like, but I mean, then again, like I was going to say, like in Hamilton, we have a pizza place called Lyman's Pizza that I like ride for so hard. But, then when I am on tour, like that's the one place I'm just like, as soon as I get home, I'm going to Lyman's Pizza. Like I'm going to Foot Elbow or something, like just classic Hamilton spots in my friend group. And it's just like, yeah, like I could be like in Vietnam and eating like real authentic like pho and just be like, like the spring rolls at like Foot Elbow are pretty sick. You know what I mean? It's like you always just kind of have that, but I don't know. It's funny. I don't know. We're kind of spoiled in that sense because we get to try food and like we get to do everything everywhere, right? So we're kind of like, it's like someone here opening like up like a Mexican restaurant and people being like, it's good, and I'm like, no, it's not. And they're like, oh, what, California Mexican food's better, Texas, Arizona? And I'm just like, yes, it is. Like, it just without question is. It's real. This is like Taco Bell, but the tacos are $16. Like, that's the only difference.
Yeah. God, yeah. We just got a bag. My wife just bought me a bag of Hearst potato chips, which I'm from the East Coast originally, Delaware. Sure. And so, like, getting those. I have a Wawa tattoo, so like I miss Wawa, which again, another touring staple for a lot of people.
Yeah, the Sheetz Wawa debate.
Yeah, I mean, let's be real. I think honestly, people only like Sheetz because of the Boom Boom sauce. I think if people want to be honest with themselves, that's what it is.
I like that's one thing that I've never tried that from Sheets. I'm not like big on like crazy sauces and stuff, but I say this, like I like both. Wawa is like, I did this thing like years ago on Twitter where I like compared it to like Wawa and Sheets are like metalcore and hardcore, where it's like Sheets is the metalcore where it's like there's like you can do more stuff, and it's like, you know, there's like more shit and not all of it's good, but like there's way more options. And then hardcore is like, yeah, you know, a lot of it sounds the same, and there's better bands because it's, you know, it's like more uniform. And it's like a classic standby, but like every now and then you kind of want something that's like weird. You know what I mean? Like every now and then you want like fucking mozzarella sticks with like Dorito dust and like a birthday cake milkshake. But more often than not, you know, Wawa, it's like, yeah, just like a BLT rocks and it's good. But that was always my comparison. And people were either like on board when they heard that and they're like, yep, genius, like this is it. And then other people were just like, do you have brain damage or something? Like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like fucking nothing makes sense in my brain. Like I just say it. It just comes and I say it. Like, sorry. But I like both, honestly. I like, if there's a chance of me getting actual food from the same building that I'm getting gas at 4 a.m, like I'll take it. You know, it's fine by me. So,
kind of speaking a little bit more to End and why you're actually here, though.
Sure.
I want to say, holy shit, congrats on somehow topping the EP, which
Thank
the
you.
bar was set really high with that. Something I did wonder, because it seems like you guys are all busy doing other things. You know, with Greg and Will having producing careers, other bands, you guys having other bands and careers and so forth. Out of curiosity, was this new batch of songs, were they 100% new, or were there some leftovers from the Unforgiving Arms of God?
I'm pretty sure that they were all kind of new. I think that the one thing we have working in our favor in terms of like generating new material is the fact that like we have both Will and Greg who own studios and like record bands full time. You know what I mean? So that right there is like, you know, that's a huge plus. Like normally it's like there's one guy in the band that kind of does that and is like the demo, you know, guy, but it's like, this isn't like, we're not talking demos. We're talking like Will, Greg, like, you know, people like actual real producers that just have all of that stuff at their disposal, like at home. Like, oh, I feel like, well, I'm going to try this head on and I have 50 amps that I can pick from, and they just like go and do it and they can perfect it so easy. You know what I mean? Whereas like other bands, it's like, you know, they're like downloading plugins trying to be like, why doesn't it sound like the fucking Knock Loose record? You know what I mean? But they just have it ready to go. So that's always good. And then they're both just like insanely talented, like musicians. So it's like, you know, Will writes like 4 songs himself, and then Greg writes 4 songs himself. They send them to each other. They both like improve on them. And then like for a week, Greg will just like come up to the studio, like to Will's studio, and then they'll just write another 4 songs. And it's like, okay, here's the record. Like we're just good to go. And it's like, it's so insane how they can do it that fast. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's weird, but yeah, in terms of like, yeah, like I want to say it was all new material, maybe like a riff here and there or something that Will or Greg might have been holding on to for a minute. But yeah, for the most part, like I didn't even really know it was going to be like, I knew we had to do a full length, but I didn't really have like much of a time frame. And then after like Counterparts did the first like private room tour, that tour ended, and it was like Will the next day was like, hey, we can like start a record if you want. So we ended in Philadelphia, and I was like, all right, I'll just come to New Jersey right now, and I'll just stay and I stayed for like another month and a bit, and then we like did the whole record, and it was like, okay, cool, we're done. Here's the record, and I was like, holy shit, we did a full length. This is crazy.
Yeah. You know, something that was kind of interesting about this record to me is the samples that kind of are running throughout the record itself. And, you know, I think it's kind of provides a compelling companionship to some of the lyrics, at least the ones I can make out, because I don't have the link to your lyrics, and I was trying to get them so I could kind of see if this is a stupid question or not. So if it is, forgive me.
Don't worry.
But it seems like that some of the themes and such are also kind of represented in those samples. And in texting with Greg yesterday, it was interesting to hear how basically that happened by accident of it picking up through his pickup in his guitar, and then they of worked on these samples and so forth. Yeah. Did those samples come first, or did those inform any of your lyrics, or did those samples come after the fact of you writing your lyrics?
So they all all the samples pretty much came after the fact. except the like the sample, like the, you know, like God Cares for You, like, and so do we, like that thing, like that was the one that was the total accident. So like, you know, all the other ones are kind of just like end of the record wrap up, like, oh, we should do like a creepy sample here, like that type of shit. But that one specifically was like they were tracking that song, and I guess it got picked up through the radio, like through his pickups, and it's like it's just so crazy to think that, you know, like, and like the reason, and like this is also the reason why we used it, is because it was such a, you know, it was such like a coincidence and like such a crazy thing to happen, to, you know, where it wasn't like if you were to be recording and, you know, like the pickup, it was like picking up a radio station and it was like new, like fucking $5 footlong at Subway, you know, we would all be like, oh, that's hilarious. But, you know, and we wouldn't think anything of it, but just like that whole, like, you know, like, are you going through a hard time? Like, God cares for you, like that whole thing. And like, I remember waking up one day and walking in, and Will and Greg are like, we have to show you the fucking sample of like what just happened. And they showed it to me, and I was like, man, that's like too weird or whatever. And then it just actually ended up being on the record, and it sounds sick. It's like, I don't even know what it's from. It's just, it's creepy as hell. And I wasn't going through a hard time. So it's like that's the weirdest part. I was like, ugh, like, fuck off, get out of my head.
Yeah, it was kind of weird because I have software sometimes to use to like transcribe something in case I want to be lazy. And so I actually was trying to use that software to transcribe all of the samples to see if it created some kind of a narrative from start to finish.
Sure.
And then kind of wondering, you know, since I knew I was going to be talking to you, you know, and Greg didn't tell me, you know, if these were done after the fact or not. So, you know, I guess, you know, what's interesting to me is, were you surprised that after the fact of all this shit, were you surprised at how well it kind of helped create an overall narrative and theme between what you had already written for the record?
Oh, for sure. I think that, like, I mean, I come from the, you know, I guess like the most important time in my life musically was like, you know, the early to mid like 2000s metalcore stuff. So all of that stuff is so, like, you know, that stuff's like is dialed up crazy, and it's like, you know, and a lot of that shit is like, you know, Will and Greg and stuff for the end record, they're like going and trying to find like new unused, like, you know, samples and stuff like that, and I think that that's really cool. But like back in the 2000s, like bands just had shit from movies, like, you know, like Parkway Drive literally had like Yippee-Ki-Yay Motherfucker Before a Breakdown, you know what I mean? And it's like, and all that stuff, and it was like, I think Suicide Silence had all that Family Guy shit. And it's like, it's such like a, I don't know, like a timepiece, you know, it's a perfect example of like that era that I think, like, you know, I think like Will and Greg and Billy and Jay, like everybody but me, like they're more on the, like, you know, late 90s, like, you know, style of metalcore stuff, but I'm a little bit younger, so all of that sample stuff, like that's, so like that stuff has always been my favorite, you know what I mean? And it's like it was used, I think, tastefully in the 90s, and the 2000s kind of overdid it. But I think that, you know, there's not really any overdoing it if you can, you know, if it helps like push a narrative or a feeling or, like, you know, a theme at the very least. I think that's really cool, because sometimes, you know, there's just like, if somebody's already said it, like, you know, why try and change it? You know what I mean? Like if you can, I don't know, I guess if you can like find a sample or something and use that, it's like anything to just give it a little bit more like depth and atmosphere, I guess. And I think that, like, yeah, with the End record, like that's a perfect example of like the record sounds like pretty, like, you know, it's like pretty dark and like creepy as it is, but then when you add those in and shit like that, it like becomes like uncomfortable. And I love that about the record, because, you know, I like, it's just like, it's fitting, you know what I mean? Like, I think that like the lyrical themes and sonically, everything about the band is supposed to be just like this, like, uncomfortable, ugly sound, you know what I mean? Or like feeling overall. So I think that it really did help. Like, it helps push the record for sure. Yeah,
it kind of reminded me a little bit of, not necessarily in the tone of the record itself, but just kind of this experience that I always have with this record. But it reminded me of Merciless by Most Precious Blood, the way that like their samples kind of go in and out of the songs throughout the record. Sure. And by the time you're done with the record, you're like, oh, fuck, that's done? Oh, okay, like start it back up.
Yeah, honestly.
I did that in prepping for this. Like, didn't even necessarily notice that the album or the link I had just kept repeating. I was like, oh, it just is so self-contained so well that it just works. And it sounds terrible to kind of say that you're able to kind of not notice when it's done and repeating, but I think that kind of adds to more of an experience and a vibe and kind of almost a cinematic vibe to it, where it's just it encapsulates you entirely, and you don't realize until you physically stop it from happening. You're just kind of in its grasps the whole time of experiencing it.
Yeah, and I mean, like that's something that I look for in, you know, like in all of my favorite like metalcore records and stuff like that. Like they're all kind of like that. You know, like, you know what I mean? Like they all have that like that sort of repeating thing to it, to where it's like, you know, if you just like, you could listen to it, you could be like doing a long drive. Let's say you're driving like 4 hours somewhere. You put the record on and it's like, it can start over, and it's like, it takes a couple songs before your brain kicks in and goes, hey, we already listened to this one. Like, I'm getting kind of bored here. Like, I don't want you to fall asleep while you're driving. Like, let's switch this up. But it's like, you know, like Misery Signals have the same, like that riff on, like Victim of Target. And then it's like at the end of the record too. And then, you know, Poison the Well did it with like, Tear from the Red. Like, you know, it's just like that whole sort of like thing where, you know, and then that's like an actual like riff that is the first riff is the last riff type vibe. But, you know, I think that if you can, that's cool for sure. But I also think that if you can recreate that feeling with like samples, and even just like, you know, if the record starts with a certain fucking feedback or something, and then it ends with the same one and it bleeds into it and makes it repeat, it's like, that's what you want, because you want people to listen to the record more than once. You know what I mean? Like, I would rather have less people listen to our record, you know, twice, 3 times a day than I would have, you know, a million, like everybody in the world listen to it once. Cause it's like, you know, you want that like repeat, you know, you want like repeat offenses. You want people to keep like listening and listening and listening to it, you know, and that's what's going to make them love your band. That's what's going to make your band stand out for them. So I think that if you can, you know, if you can like get that under control and make that happen, like almost a sense of like, if you can force people into really, you know, having your record on repeat and not really noticing, like, you've done a good job. So that's always something that like me personally, cause it's like, you know, with like lyrics and stuff, like I think the first time I ever did it was on the last like Counterparts record, where it's like the first line is the last line type vibe. But, you know, that's something that more for like the actual musicians in the band to sort of, you know, to do. So I think that being able to do it with like samples and stuff on the end record it's sick. I love it. You know, again, it just makes it like creepy. It's like you can't get rid of it, you know?
Right. Yeah. You know, so you are the last of the original End lineup that I didn't get to talk to you previously, because I did a podcast a while ago with Greg, and then Greg kind of spilled the beans on this, and then that begat Andrew and then Jay, and then Will came eventually down the line. So something, you know, kind of going back to that as we're slowly wrapping up, how did it feel to be a part of a band that no one knew was coming until basically a teaser clip came out? I don't know. It's like, it was a weird feeling. Like, it's fucking sick. Don't get me wrong. But I remember like doing this, and, you know, I always like made jokes about it, us being like, you know, it's like about how the band started and stuff, and being like, yeah, I don't know. It was like, it wasn't a joke per se, but it was just like, we were just kind of, you know, Will and I, he was like, yeah, I'm going to start this like heavy, like Turmoil, kind of grindy type band, like Turmoil meets Cursed meets whatever. And I'm like, okay, I'm in. And then he started like getting other people, and then it was like, just, you know, and then I don't even remember what happened in between. I just remember all of a sudden Will's like, hey, like we have, like, let's do the demo, like come for a week and let's do it. Like, let's record it. And I'm like, okay. And I fly to New Jersey, like, with fuck all in terms of lyrics, like nothing. I haven't even really heard the songs. I just go there, show up. I meet Greg for the first time, like introduce myself and go like, hey, I guess we're in a band together. Like, we're meeting for the first time. I guess we're going to be like really close friends now, you know, and we started doing it, and it's just like, and then we did it, and I swear we slept on that for a year and a half, 2 years, maybe. I don't really remember, but, you know, we just had that EP, and then all of a sudden I remember being on, like, when Counterparts was on Warped 2017, I just get the thing from Will being like, yeah, we're gonna post fucking Usurper tomorrow. And I'm like, okay, sick. And so, you know, and then like to go from like having an EP done where
it wasn't really going to be public for the foreseeable future. It was just kind of like, yeah, we have this, we have a clip in the back pocket just in case we need to, do something. Then immediately being like, oh yeah, here's a fucking band. And then all these publications and stuff are like, oh, fucking super group this, crazy that, like fucking everything, and people are going nuts. And I'm just like, holy shit, like a week ago, you guys didn't even know this existed. Like the 5 of us really are the only ones that knew. So, but it was like, I think that it caught a lot of people off guard. And I think that that's one of the reasons why people are so into it, like, not like, I feel like there's less people being like, oh, well, it's Brendan from Counterparts and it's Will Putney and it's Greg from Misery Shit, like that type of thing. Like, I feel like people are just, I don't know. I feel like, all the supergroup like shit aside, I think that it's just people have like an attachment to it because it did just kind of come out of nowhere and then it held up. You know what I mean? It's like, because there's a lot of like bands that, like when you look at like, old bands from like the 90s and shit, it's like super this, and then you like listen to it and you're like, this is super. You know what I mean? And not to be egotistical, but like, yeah, the EP, like it kind of kicks fucking ass. I think we didn't even know it was going to be good or not. Like we just did it. And I think that that's the reason why people are like, oh fuck, this is, it was just so out of left field and so different from, I mean, at least in like from my perspective, because it's like all these kids are listening to it being like, oh, it's the Counterparts guy. And then they listen to End and they're like, what the fuck is this? Like this is insane. You know what I mean? And I think that it was just kind of cool the way that the rollout happened. I don't know. I don't even think it was intentional. I think it's just the way everything kind of worked out, and it worked out in our favor because everyone was like, like they just got like sidelined by Usurper out of nowhere, and they're just like, what the fuck is this? And then since then, it's just been getting better. Like the EP release and like, the single and like the, like we put up Pariah and, with the pre-orders, and all of a sudden it's like, holy fuck, we have like an actual band here. Like this, this isn't like, this isn't like a side project type vibe. Like this feels like a real thing. So it's sick. Like I love it. You know what I mean? I think I'm very fortunate to be in 2 bands that people like. You know what I mean? It's pretty cool.
So this might be a really stupid question, and I didn't really know how to articulate it any better than how I wrote it down.
Sure.
So, do you find the experience of performing these songs in End to be different than what you do in Counterparts? Like, is there more of maybe a cathartic or visceral reaction when you're performing these for you personally that taps into something that you don't with Counterparts?
Not like, maybe like, I would say lyrically, no, but I think because the main difference for me from like an End set and a Counterpart set is just the fact that like the End set is so much shorter and it's like so much easier. You know what I mean? Like the End, like we're going from cause we did it on the headliner. It's like Counterparts we played for 45 minutes and then like, so it's like the show opens and it's like Chamber, End plays for half an hour, 25 minutes. Then you have Burials and Stray, and then Counterparts comes and plays for 45. So it's like the length alone with End is so much nicer. Also, there's way less like words and shit. Like Counterparts is a pretty like wordy band, a lot of syllables, a lot of shit like that. But with End, I just kind of get to like, just like kind of like rock out and do my thing. And then also with like, with Counterparts, it's, like we're like a melodic metalcore band, whatever you want to call it. And, that type of music, it's like, we're attracting like people from all different kinds, like all different worlds and stuff. So I think with End, I just get a little bit more of a free pass to just like, if Counterparts was playing and I told the crowd to like fucking kill each other, people would be like, why would he say that? You know what I mean? But with End, I could be like, fuck you, like kill each other, like go nuts. And people are like, yeah, okay, sure, I'll do it. You know what I mean? It's like, I think the music, like the style of music itself just is heavier and more aggressive. So in turn, I feel like I'm more comfortable at being like an aggressive frontman with End than with Counterparts. You know what I mean? Like there's just certain things that I wouldn't, like I wouldn't say on stage with Counterparts that I say with End, because it's like, I can't be like, all right, like fucking, and I do like, I definitely do the whole like mosh call, make fun of the crowd type thing with Counterparts. But if I do that and I build it up so big and then we go into some like fucking minute long clean part where I'm just talking, people are going to be like, what was that? Like, you can't do that. But with End, it's like just an onslaught of heavy. So I just really, I just kind of get to do my thing. Also, with End, I'm also not expected to like make the crowd laugh in between songs, which is kind of sick. Because, with Counterparts, it's like, that's my little stand-up hour. So that's fun. But having to do that with End too is just like, oh, fuck. Like, that would be a nightmare. I've already used my material, you know what I mean? So with End, I barely say anything between songs. We don't really do anything, we just get up there and play, and it's very relaxed and chill, and I do like it. So I like both, I will say. They both rock. It's just whichever one ends up paying me more, that's the one I like more. So
So, you were talking a little bit ago about, when the record came out, or the EP, I should say, came out, and, you were surprised at how well the reaction was to Usurper. Adversely, how blown away were you by how many variants you went and pressings you went through of that EP straight out the gate due to the demand of wanting physical copies of that EP?
Yeah, that was insane. I because I don't know, again, not to sound like big headed or whatever, but like I figured people would think it's cool. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, yeah, for sure there's going to be people that will hear this. And even if they're like, let's say they're like Counterparts fans, they've never really listened to like this style of music before. And they just like, they're like, oh, bro, Brennan did it, so I'll check it out. And they think it's like cool. I'm like, yeah, they'll probably think it's cool, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to buy anything. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like then you fast forward to like actually putting it out. And it's like, and furthermore, like we're talking about like an EP, right? Like a full length, I get, it's like, oh yeah, this is like a big fucking deal, whatever. Like, yeah, full length. Oh, holy shit. But like EPs and stuff, like it's just so crazy that people were so down to like spend money on like 16 minutes of music. You know what I mean? And people were like, yeah, fuck it, I don't care. And then we started moving through variants and everything like that. And like, and even with like the pre-order for the new record, everything's, like we have, 5-6 different variants with like exclusive like resellers and stuff. It's like we have like the Deathwish one and the Pure Noise one and all this stuff, and everyone's just like actually going and buying it, and it's like so fucking crazy that people, you know what I mean? Because it's like, I mean, even like look at me, it's like music is my, like both my bands, it's like that's my entire life, both in terms of like what I enjoy doing, but also like I rely on both of them for 100% of my income. Like if I'm, if neither of the bands are making money, like neither am I. So, but even me, it's like, it's super hypocritical of me to say, but like I used to be like super into vinyl collecting and stuff like that, but I've kind of fallen off now because I'm like, it's hard to keep up with, especially when I can just, turn on the same speakers that I listen to with my record player, have Bluetooth. So I can just, hit the Bluetooth thing and go on Spotify or Apple Music and I just play whatever I want. But the fact that, other people are still like buying music and we're still like moving like, 6 different pressings and variants. I see pictures of like people tagging us in pictures of like their collection and stuff. And they've got like every variant, the fucking test press, all this stuff. I'm just like, holy shit, man. Like that's crazy. I'm like, I just wanted to make like the whole End thing. It's like, I can't speak for everybody else when I talk about like, the formation and the initial feeling and stuff, but like I just wanted to do like a really heavy side project, and now it's like, it's like, oh shit, this is like a real thing that can exist. This is like an actual, not that we weren't an actual band, but it just like, it doesn't feel like the side weekend, haha, let's have fun type vibe. Like it actually feels like, oh fuck, like, let's do this smart. You know what I mean? Like let's get like a proper booking agent and let's look at these tours and like actually go and do stuff that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. It was so funny because like when I did the chat with everybody else initially, all that had come out was actually, no, I think half of the chats I did, the teaser wasn't even out because I talked to Greg, teaser wasn't out, talked to Andrew, teaser wasn't out, and then I talked to Jay and I think the teaser had come out that day or the day before, but I talked to everyone for like 20-30 minutes and had not heard a single fucking note of music, which was wild.
Sure.
And
yeah, that's gotta be crazy.
Yeah, it was really weird. And I think I did a pretty good job of working my way around it where you couldn't tell, but that's why with this one I was like, okay, obviously Pariah's out. And there's one song, so that would be more at least to talk to you than I had with most everybody else. But is one of those things where I was like, man, I really hope they have a link to the record so I can hear it and talk a little bit more about it.
Yeah,
but
totally.
It's kind of thinking about the band. You kind of hit on it a little bit earlier. But the fact that this isn't anyone's, and this sounds kind of like a backhanded thing, but that it's not everyone's full-time thing. You have counterparts. Everyone else has other things. Do you think it really allows you to appreciate the time you get to spend creating and performing these songs as End?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's like, that's like, it's a huge thing for me. Like I said, I can't speak off, for everybody in the band entirely, but I mean, for me personally, I think like End is like, don't get me wrong, like Counterparts is like a passion for me. Like that is my baby, you know what I mean? It's like, I've been there from the beginning. I've been doing everything. Like that's my like fucking kid, you know what I mean? But with End, it's like, I guess on the same hand though, like there comes a time inevitably when, your like, if your like passion becomes your income, then there comes a time where it's like, okay, you can't do whatever you want, like you can't like, I mean, to be fair, we definitely like Counterparts, like we get away with a lot of shit. Like we do some like fucking dumb stuff. Like we did like a hoodie that was the print was upside down. As a joke. You know what I mean? Like that type of stuff. And it's like a lot of bands like can't do that. So we're fortunate enough to be able to like do whatever the fuck we want. And we're kind of at a point now where kids are just like people that like the band are just kind of like, well, I don't know. They're just it's just them. Like they're fucking stupid. I'll buy it. Fine. Whatever. Fine. You know what I mean? So it doesn't affect us, but a lot, there's a lot that goes into, I guess, like, I don't know, for it, like, it sounds weird. And like, not that I'm like, I'm trying to not compare the two because they are vastly different, but like with Counterparts, it's like, there's a lot more like planning, I guess, that goes into stuff where it's like, okay, if we do like, we'll go on tour with this band and then that'll open us up to like this crowd, or like, okay, like, yeah, let's have like a fucking slow song on the record that's like all singing. Like it's, it's not that we don't want to do it and we're doing it to like, purely for like commercial value or whatever, but it's like, there's just, you just have to be like smarter, I guess. But with End, it's like an actual, like, it's what the fuck we feel like it. If you don't like it, kiss my ass kind of vibe. And that's really cool. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think there's not really, like, we all want it to be good and we want it to kick ass and we want it, we want to like make sure it's fucking awesome when we put it out. But there's just, I guess there's a lot less like riding on it because I don't know, like, let's say we put out the EP and everyone was like, this fucking sucks. We could all be like, oh, okay, fuck it, whatever. Like, oops, my bad. We'll put that away and never speak of it again. But so we kind of have the freedom to like do a little bit more because if it doesn't pan out, we still have, like I still have Counterparts. Will has, recording every fucking band on earth. And same with Greg. And, Jay's got fucking barber shit. Like Billy's playing in like, a bunch of bands. He's like the drummer of fucking Dillinger, for Christ's sake. Like he'll be fine. Like everyone will be fine. So I think that like in that there is this weird sort of freedom that you have to where it's like, still kind of in control. And I mean, like, not to say that with Counterparts we're not in control, but, we definitely have like fucking ideas and that people kind of have to be like, okay, guys, like, I know, I get it. Like, you're the fucking goofy upside down hoodie band. I understand, but like, reel it in a little bit. Like, you're going to shoot yourself in the foot. And we're like, okay, it's fine. But with End, it's like, there's just more freedom. So it is kind of, to me, like they're both, I'm passionate about both, but I like that sort of like, I don't have everything riding on it. Cause like everything in my life is like more or less riding on Counterparts. So if I don't do it smart, like I'm fucked, So with End, it's cool to be able to be like, yeah, I can say like weird fucking shit. You know what I mean? Like there's some like stuff in End that I wouldn't necessarily say for Counterparts because it's like, okay, we're like eliminating a fan base if I say this stuff, like there's like a lot of like religious stuff and all that to where it's like, I can say that with End because, I'm like, well, now this is like personal to me. Like, so is Counterparts, but, I'm not going to start because like we have Christian kids that like Counterparts. And it's like, I'm not trying to fucking make fun of you, but, and like tell you that what you believe in is like fucking dumb. But with End, it's like, well, I can say whatever I want and people can't really like get mad. There's no alienating a fan base because we make our own fan base. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think, looking at the lyrics to Pariah, I mean, it's funny. Well, I mean, the lyrics to Pariah are not funny, but
yeah, sure.
In reading that, it's like, and especially the visuals that, you have in the video that accompany it, it's like, man, I feel like it just allows you creatively as a writer to kind of go into an untapped area maybe for you to kind of create or express yourself in a completely different avenue. And that's kind of where I was kind of going with do you get a different experience, performing these songs or, writing these songs between the two bands? Because I think it's, as a creative outlet, I can't negate obviously the impact it would have to be able to get these things out for you. So
yeah. And like I said, it's cathartic in a sense for both. I think that I don't know. I guess it's just kind of like I feel like two different emotions when I refer to like with Counterparts. I'm kind of writing about, it's like on the lyric side, it's a little bit more like, I don't know, I guess like melancholy and like dramatic and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, this shitty thing. It's like, let's say, shitty thing number 512 happens to me in my life, and my approach with Counterparts would be different because I would, it would be along the lines of like me dealing with it, but I'm still sad about it. Whereas like the music is just more aggressive in almost every sense. The same, it could be, we could be talking about the same exact thing that's happened, but in Counterparts, it's more depressing and low and shit like that. And with End, it's like, I'm going to fucking kill somebody. And I like that I kind of have both. I have both ends of that spectrum, which is good to where I can, to help me get it out, which is awesome. And, those are kind of the only two, I guess, emotions that I've ever been able to put into like lyrical themes because like, I don't know. No one wants to hear me singing about how like I had a good fucking day. You know what I mean? Like no one in the world wants that. So it's cool that I have like both sides of the coin now,
Yeah. I mean, Filter was able to, not Filter. It was, goddamn, what was that band? Fuel made a song, a poppy song about having a bad day.
Sure. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, you can kind of, you can do that and stuff. And you can like, I like that because there are like similar themes, like, there's themes on Nothing Left to Love that it's like, there'll be like a song on that record that I'm talking about the exact same event that I'm talking about on like the End record. And, but it's just a matter of like, I don't know, I guess it's just a viewpoint and how I'm approaching it, like the fucking, like on the Counterparts when I'm going like, this is so upsetting and this is how I feel. And it's like, it's tearing me apart or whatever. And then the End one is like, like you take Pariah or something and it's like, you hurt my friend and I'm going to fucking kill you, like that type of vibe. So it's cool. I sing words that I would never say in person. So it's kind of nice for me. It's a cool outlet.
So you are a metal, old school metalcore fan. A lot of times when people see you live, everyone comments on whatever shirt you're wearing. I know during that St. Vitus set, everyone's commenting on your It Dies Today shirt. And
yeah, the It Dies Today thing.
And so it's one of those things where, obviously you guys, knock on wood, who knows, but Furnace Fest, you guys are doing that. And there's a shitload of great old school bands on that. Who were you looking forward to seeing on that maybe you haven't seen in a while?
I mean, I'm like, if like, not to be like a fucking dick, but if Poison Noel plays the set that I think that they should play at something like Furnace Fest, I'm really excited for that. Because that was a little bit before my time, I would say. Like the first time I saw that band was like 2007. And I'm like,
tour?
I think I want like, sorry,
the Killswitch Engage tour, like one of their last.
No, I think I want to say it was like Warped Tour 2007. You know what I mean? So it's like I think it was I can't remember. I know it was before I graduated high school. So it was like, I graduated in 2009. So something, but like I saw them and it's like they played, like I love the band, but it's like they play like fucking nerdy and that's it, and it's like, yeah, cool. Like I'm still fucking tight, but just Opposite of December has it means like a lot to me. And I think it means a lot to like most of the people in Counterparts. So that was when we were first kind of like getting our fit together, and like trying to fucking figure out how the hell we wanted to sound. Like that's the year that we started the band. So, it's like, I'd be excited. Like I'm excited for that. Like Mineral, I want to see like not metal in any way, but like seeing Mineral on that is like, let's fucking go. Like they're one of my favorite 90s emo bands. Yeah, I'm like trying to think of the list in my head. I mean, seeing Misery Signals is obviously going to be a fucking treat, even though I've seen them millions of times, but that's always going to be, that'll be good. Yeah, I'm trying to seeing Converge. I think I've only ever seen them once in Hamilton. Probably like early 2000s, like before I even knew what the hell Converge was. Like I saw them and I was like, what the fuck is happening right now? But that'll be really cool. Love is Red. I never got to see Love is Red, but they're another melodic metalcore type vibe. I'm not sure if they played Canada, but that would be I'm looking forward to that. Seeing Halud with fucking Jay singing will be awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen Halud with 15 different fucking vocalists at this point, but Jay kicks ass, so that'll be pretty sick.
Yeah, I wonder if Greg's going to actually hop in and do anything with them for that.
That would be, that would be cool. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, it would be pretty sick.
I guess same with the.
And I mean, obviously,
too.
Sure, yeah. I guess he could, yeah. Fuck, imagine that. Imagine being able to say that I'm gonna go do I'm gonna do a Missig song, and I'm gonna do a Shai Hulud song, and just cool. You want to do fucking Poison the Well too, and really just round out every band that we've ripped off for 10 years? Because be my guest.
Yeah, I'm hoping to go to that. It's right around my birthday, so I would love to go. I'd love to go and try to get some interviews and shit. But as of now, I'm not planning on anything happening at this point this year, honestly.
Yeah, the entire year kind of took a bit of a shit. So I mean, my only thing is I fucking hope that if shit isn't back to normal and stuff isn't, working the way it's supposed to be by then, I hope to God they go, you know what, we're going to move it to sometime next year and go even crazier, get even more bands and go fully off the deep end, because it is literally the sickest fucking lineup I've ever seen. Even taking those early Hellfest DVDs into account, this lineup is still better. This lineup is better than the 2003 Hellfest DVD. You know what I mean? It's it's the best thing I've ever seen. So I remember hitting up our manager being I don't fucking care. Just get us on the festival. Money, whatever. I don't give a fuck. Just please, just find a way, because I need to be a part of this. Just so I have something to brag about, you know what I mean? And luckily we got an offer already. So he's oh yeah, no, you guys were going to play. I'm oh fuck, thank God. But
I was going to say, I kind of had wondered if that was the case of bands actually reaching out to their managers and publicists and so forth and being yo, I want to fucking be here. Please get us there however it needs to happen.
Yeah, I think that is without question, that's happened. I think especially a lot of the younger bands too. I think bands like us and Sea Space Cowboy and Knock Loose and a lot of the younger bands are kind of that was us going up to Furnace Fest and being yo, please, I know we're not an old guy metalcore band, but please fucking let us play the goddamn thing. Give us a 15-minute set. And they're okay, but not to say that bands like us and Space Cowboy and Knock Loose aren't going to have our own draw, because I think we will. All the younger kids, you can't fault young kids for not knowing what some of those who some of those bands are. There's bands on that festival that I've never heard in my entire life, and I'm fucking 29. So I you just get mad at the 16-year-old that's well, I came for Knock Loose. It's of course you did. Obviously you did, but just stick around. Maybe you'll find something else you like. But it's the fucking craziest thing I've ever seen. When they started announcing bands, I was just dude, is this fucking fake? Is this Firefest? And then sure enough, it's it kept getting better and better and better. And all these people were doubting it and being this isn't going to fucking happen. And I'm shut the fuck up. It will. And now I'm it might not, but at least it's because nothing's happening. It's not the dudes that run it are just no, I'm out. See ya. Can't afford this. Bye. It's no, there's a fucking pandemic. So you got to be careful.
Yeah, two things to that, and then I'll let you go. So actually, sure. Yesterday on Twitter, I know you like trolling on Twitter, and I typically do not.
Oh yeah,
I'm
one
not
of my favorites.
A fan of just people being dumb and not realizing either. Just tone is lost half the time, so it's I just don't even want to bother. But there was a big thing, I guess. I think it was Chamber posted how the Used lifted one of their riffs.
Yeah, the Used.
So
Yep.
I listened to it because unbeknownst to everybody, because we haven't dropped it, and I don't think I made a comment about it, but I did an interview with Joey from The Used, like probably about a week and a half ago.
Sure.
And, I gave him shit about the Used album being the same as the Carcass record named Heartwork. And, he was like, oh, I don't think there's a whole lot of carryover between Carcass and the Used. And I was like, dude, I mean, I'm a product of MTV and I listen to so much different shit. So actually, you might be surprised. Like, there might be more crossover than you think. And so we kind of joked about that.
Totally.
But then seeing that, I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to go listen to this riff because it didn't make me think of anything other than, wow, this might be the heaviest Used riff I've ever fucking heard. And
yeah, literally.
Went and checked out the Chamber song, and I was like, or checked out the Used song, then I checked out the Chamber song, and I just wrote, maybe I'm old because I'm like 36. All I could think of hearing that Chamber song is, wow, you guys stole 43% Burnt by DEP. So I think instead of you calling out somebody else, you should be like, yo, blah, 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 blah. And then, someone was like, oh, well, if that's the case, I think everyone owes Botch like a fucking, shitload for stealing their wrist for like the last 20 some odd years.
Yeah, of course. And like it's so funny because like, so I don't know if I'm supposed to say this because it might ruin the joke, but like, so like Chamber are like, some of our like good friends. Like I play like Call of Duty with Jacob like every single day for 12 hours a day probably. The whole thing, like, it was a goof. Like we were playing the game and I love the Used. Like they're like the self-titled's probably like my favorite record of all time. I fucking love it. And he was joking around on the game and he's like, yo, like your boys like took one of our riffs. And I'm like, what the hell? And he like put the phone up to and showed me the Used thing. And I'm like, oh fuck. And he's like joking around being like, yo, should we like start fucking fake beef with them and pretend that we're really mad and like see if people fucking get pissed off. And we were like laughing, being like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't really think that I'm like, he like, even he admitted, he's like, dude, like, he's like, all we do is fucking rip off like the same metalcore bands that we like. So like, we don't really have any place to say this. And I'm just like, yeah, I know. Like we're literally a Misery Signals ripoff. Like nothing we're doing is original in the slightest. And we were just kind of laughing about it. And I guess he like did it. And he like, neither of us expected for the fucking internet to like implode like it did, because then you've got like metalcore and hardcore kids being like, oh, like, fuck the Used, how could you do this? And then you've got the Used fans being like, they've never even fucking heard of Chamber ever, I promise you. You're both right. Like, it just happens. Like, it's exactly like you said, like, the idea of, I don't know, it's different when it's like a blatant ripoff, you know what I mean? Where it's just like, oh, like in this instance, like no matter how similar it is, I can almost say without a shadow, like beyond a shadow of a doubt, that no one in the Used has listened to Chamber ever. So it's like, it's an honest mistake. If it was like a smaller band or even like a bigger band that like admitted to being like, yeah, we love Chamber, and then they just copied the part, then it's like, okay, you're being kind of lame. But, it's like this shit just happens. Like you can't fucking, there's only how many like notes on a guitar. Like you can't write an original riff anymore. You know what I mean? Unless you're one of those like weird fucking like prog bands that do the weird timing shit. But then it just sounds like Meshuggah. So it's like, yeah, it's a fucking Meshuggah ripoff, like you can't win. It's just kind of like, it's like, just write a cool fucking song, but I just remember that, like we were all laughing about that yesterday. Because so I didn't play the game in the morning yesterday. I got on at night. Jacob got on. It was 2 in the morning, and he's just like, yeah. So I guess I kind of fucking broke the internet, huh? And I'm just like, yeah, dude. Maybe. I'm like, maybe don't tell jokes anymore. Who knows?
Yeah, it was really funny though. Like I was pleasantly surprised because I made that comment.
It was hilarious.
I made that comment, and it's getting a bunch of likes and a couple of retweets and all that kind of stuff. Which sure. I mean, that's not typically anything I involve myself in, so it's weird that it's hitting. And then I had someone, they're like, oh, I checked out the link in your podcast. Oh, because I made a reference to the fact that I talked, because they were saying something about Carcass, and I was like, oh, I actually talked to Joey a week or so ago. It's not out, blah, blah, blah. And then 30 people were like, which podcast? I'm going to go check it out. And then they're sending me messages or whatever. Yo, you talked to so-and-so, or I see you had so-and-so on. Like, dude, this is rad. I didn't know. I'm going to check this out. And I'm like, I mean, show probably sucks. You're probably going to hate it, but I mean, whatever. Thanks.
Yeah, but it's that's the thing too, is I feel while social media, I would say specifically Twitter, because I don't really fuck with Instagram too much. I haven't logged on to Facebook in 2 or 3 years, because it's it's all just like invites to your cousin's birthday from your aunt or something. And I'm like, I don't need this shit. But like Twitter, it's like Twitter is the king to me because like everything that's on like Facebook or Instagram or whatever, it's like, it's all fucking screenshots from Twitter. Like Twitter sees everything first. They get everything first. It's like the front line. So while, yeah, like a lot of people just use it for fun and they're like, yeah, I just make fucking jokes, talk to my friends, whatever. It's a, you know, watch funny video. Oh, good. And that is the main purpose. But I think that, you know, there are instances where you can like, you know, you can like use it to your advantage and kind of like plug yourself, I guess, in a way, you know, like you just said, like you made a joke and suddenly people are checking your shit out. Like I have so many people that come up to me and they're like, you know, like people will be like, yeah, I literally had never heard of Counterparts. I just followed you guys for years because you post funny shit. And like, I follow you because you're always like making jokes. And then I finally listen to it and like, yeah, you guys are sick. Like now you're one of my favorite bands. And I'm just like, see, like it can work. You can be smart about it, you know? And I think that that's something that a lot of like, you know, a lot of people, it's like underutilized, I think. Like I think that should kind of be a goal. Not that you have to like fucking, like I guess like the hardest part is like doing it without annoying anybody. Cause that's the worst. You know what I mean? Like there's even days and like, you know, let's say I'm fucking bored in quarantine and I get like, I drink too much wine and I start like tweeting everything I'm thinking for a couple hours. And the next day I'm like, man, I'm fucking lying. People are probably sick of me, but there's a smart way to go about it. And I think it's like a valuable tool to like help grow anything, whether it's like, you know, band, small business, fucking big business, like whatever you want to do. There's like, you know, there's a market for it on Twitter. Right? That's why I love it so much because it can be whatever you want it to be. You know, it could be fun. It could be a tool. It could, you know, you could like fucking make a Twitter and use it solely to just like argue with people. People do that all the time. It's like, if that's filling that void for you, then like, hey, fuck yeah, it's free, buddy. Hey, way to go. But it's kind of fucking crazy how much, like how everything kind of revolves around it. And that's why I like at least try my best to, you know, like stay at least like, you know, up to date with that stuff. Like I try the other ones too, like fucking, like TikTok is huge, but it's like, dude, what the fuck am I going to do on TikTok? You know what I mean? Like I make like the funny Instagram story things. Like I like do that and make the jokes, but that's like all my friends that follow me anyway. Like TikTok, it's like, you know, I'm not like a fucking 19-year-old, like fucking kid lip syncing and fucking, you know, doing funny videos in my parents' mansion. Like nobody wants to see the 29-year-old fucking screamo guy being like, hey, look, me and my mom switched clothes. Like no one wants to see that. You know what I mean? So sometimes you just gotta understand your age and your fan base and just go, I'll leave that one to the kids. I think I'll leave TikTok can be for the high schoolers and I'll stay on Twitter with the adults, you know?
Yeah, I think a perfect example of how you've been able to kind of utilize that for marketing purposes and so forth is just literally you guys explaining your new hoodie design was just a text exchange, a screenshot of that. And that was pretty much it. Yeah,
totally. And it's like, you know, and like that's, you know, that's it. Like it's just
to the point.
It's just kind of funny. And it all kind of goes back to what we were saying before, where it's like, you know, we're lucky enough to be in a position to where like we can kind of do whatever we want and whatever we think is cool. And we don't have to worry about like people being upset about it. Like years and years ago, if we would have done that fucking upside down hoodie, people would be like, I can't fucking believe you. Like you treat your fans like shit. Like why would you put this out as a joke? Like, you know, like you're taking money from people. And now if someone does that, like I don't even have to say anything because like a bunch of like hardcore Counterparts fans just go in on the guy like, you fucking idiot, it's a joke, you dipshit, like get a fucking sense of humor, like do you not know what band you're listening to? And then I'm like, fuck, I didn't even have to lift a finger. You know, I'm like, holy shit, like the little minions I don't have to do anything. But you know, it's crazy. But you know, like I said, I'm very lucky that both of my bands are, you know, although one is definitely more geared towards like, okay, let's make sure we can all afford to feed and clothe ourselves. But at the same time, they're both very like passion driven at the end of the day. Like nobody, you know, label manager or whatever, like no one can really tell me like, you have to fucking do this or else. Cause I'll just be like, fuck off. It's like, no, I don't. Fuck you, you know? And I'm super like thankful for that. Cause you see it happen all the time with bands that get pushed around and shit. And then that's why these bands have like a fucking 3-year career. Cause they're like, this music industry sucks. And I'm like, yeah, it fucking sucks. It stinks. the fucking worst. But if you just take little steps to make it more enjoyable for yourself, suddenly being in a band for like touring for 11 years like we have doesn't seem that long. So hopefully we got a couple more out of us, or at least I do anyway. I don't really want a real job anytime soon, but we'll see.
Well, I think that's a good place to end this chat. Where can everyone find you or any of the bands or anything you want to plug online?
So my Twitter is Brendan905, BRENDAN 905. Instagram, BJM905. Counterparts Twitter, Counterparts905. Counterparts Instagram, Counterparts Band. End only has Instagram. It's your fucking end. And that's pretty much it.
I think you guys
We're
have
easy
a
to find.
Facebook, don't you?
Oh yeah. But like I said, I don't really,
that's true.
I don't really go on the Facebook too much. But yeah, the End and Counterparts, we all have Facebook pages, but yeah, whatever. Just type it in the search bar, you'll find us.
So that was my conversation with Brendan Murphy of End and Counterparts. We talked a little bit about Counterparts in there. Again, Splinters from an Ever-Changing Face is out this Friday as of when you're hearing it on Closed Casket Activities. That label also, by the way, is doing great shit. They did really well with the Acacia Strain It Comes in Waves vinyl pre-orders and all that kind of stuff, so really cool to see the different variants and so forth that are coming out through these guys for this End record. I know I got my first pressing secured a long time ago, and I'm just now waiting for it to show up. But it's this record is really great. If you aren't a fan of this band or don't know much about them or haven't heard any of the new songs, go check it out. This is a record in the traditional sense of you can't just play a song. And I think if you get it on vinyl, will be a very immersive experience. The way that they have samples kind of running throughout the whole record kind of gives it a narrative and a theme, as we discussed with Brendan, and is one of those things where it just creates a full listening experience. And by the time it's done, and if you're not listening to it on a record and it just repeats, you just kind of keep getting sucked into it. It's almost like what are those, undertows, where they just kind of keep, going over you and bringing you back in and you just can't get out.
Is that why that Tool album's called Undertow?
I don't know. Am I thinking of the right term? Or is it a
Yeah, no. You are. No. Undertow's it, where it just keeps pulling you under. Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes I throw out words and I'm like, am I using that right?
Oh, well.
But no, Dan actually brought up something when we were kind of talking about doing this episode tonight that he thought was interesting, which was, speaking to Brendan being the vocalist of two different bands, and given how diversely different they are on the spectrums of heavy, I'll say at least, that I thought something was kind of interesting about it, but it wasn't until Dan basically reiterated my sentiment, which was what?
Well, basically just that, he'd said like he is almost a different person when he's, leading, whenever he's fronting End versus Counterparts. And he's like, yeah, I would say stuff on stage for End that I would never say on stage with Counterparts, because I wouldn't want fans to feel like I was making fun of them. He's like, because I know we have like a bunch of Christian fans and stuff. And I just asked John, I was like, is that a thing with Counterparts? Because I never got that vibe that they were like appealing to that market. But I could kind of see it, that a lot of people that listen to Christian bands or whatever probably are into Counterparts.
And see, what's funny is I kind of had forgotten to ask you about that, because I was like, I like Counterparts, but more or less like Brendan makes a joke, we're basically just a Misery Signals ripoff. So
I love
to me,
that,
it's
yeah.
like, so to me, it was just like, well, yeah, and I love Misery Signals, so obviously that's why I love Counterparts.
Right.
Which, by the way, that new Misery Signals song, whoo, so good.
Yeah, dude. I gotta put some sunscreen on before I listen to that one. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was, I kind of thought the same thing. I was like, are they kind of in that scene? Were they a part of that scene at any point? And I sometimes with a lot of that stuff, like, I know you and I on this show have kind of discussed, like, is being a Christian band when you're not, or whatever, a big deal, or, just kind of like, is it harder to break out of that scene once you are somewhat associated with it? And was one of those things, like, I've never associated Counterparts with that scene at all. They weren't a Solid State band or a Tooth and Nail band. They haven't really toured with a ton of Solid State or Tooth and Nail bands that I can think of off the top of my head. If anything, they tour with a lot more like heavier secular bands.
August Burns Red, I think they toured with, but even August Burns Red is kind of like one of those bands that, they came out of Solid State, but I don't think that they were ever really overtly religious either. Or if they were, it was probably like really early on.
Yeah.
Which is kind of
which
is kind of the trend with that. I don't mean to derail the conversation into that, but I just thought that was an interesting I thought that was just an interesting point that he brought up, and something that I didn't even think that bands that weren't associated with that scene even thought about.
Yeah, I don't know. That's why I said, like, when he said that, I kind of was like, huh, and thought it was interesting. And then when I listened back to edit the chat down, I was like, oh, I'll have to ask Dan about that, because, you know, that's sad to say this, because, you know, in light of...
I know, it's my department.
I was to say, in one of your most recent episodes on discography discussion, you're like, oh, everyone just assumes, you know, I'm the Christian metal guy. And it's like, well, I mean, yeah, kind of you are.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely backed myself into that corner a few times. But I mean, it just is what it is. I mean, I'm not like super upset about it, but like, it's definitely like, it's fine. Like, it's totally fine. Like, who even cares?
All of that aside, this conversation ran a little bit long, so let's wrap it up. Pre-orders are still live as of when we're doing this. You have about 5 days to still pre-order the new record Splinters from an Ever-Changing Face, out June 5th. Via closed casket activities. So if you want to follow the band, it's pretty simple. Facebook, listen to End. Instagram at your fucking End. If you like to keep up with Brendan, Facebook, Twitter, Brendan905. Counterparts, whatever. They're probably in one of the bios of his, so click on that if you want to find them. This wasn't a Counterparts interview, so I'm not going to plug Counterparts. It's all about End, and that's why we got Brendan on to talk about it.
You showed them.
Yeah, that's right, I did. And Dan will tell you where he can be found, plugging, you know, all kinds of Christian wares wherever he is.
Yeah, so you guys ever heard of Testaments? They are everybody's favorite brand of mints, but with a positive message. No, but I can actually be found on Facebook under Daniel Terry. I can be found on Twitter at DiscussMetalDan. I can be found on Gmail at DiscussMetalDan@gmail.com. I have 2 other shows, Discography Discussion and Discuss Metal. You can find those at DiscussMetal.com. Trying to see if there's anything I left out. I don't think there's anything I left out. I think that's pretty much where I can be found. I can also be found in my house most of the time, except for when I'm at work. So, you know, there's ways to get to me. Just come at me.
Come at me, bro. And if you would like to keep up with all things this podcast, simple enough, Brew Speak Pod, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Check us out on YouTube if that's an easier method for you to listen to these shows. Sometimes there are videos of some of the in-persons we've done. And lately, that's where we've been posting our Instagram lives if my phone will cooperate in recording them. So go check those out. We have a couple of Instagram lives that have already happened as of when you're going to hear this. I'm hoping we're still going to be doing them. They've been a lot of fun. And Brendan said he would do one. So maybe when this comes out, he will hear this and feel bad for me that I've been pestering him to come on and do an Instagram Live. And worst case, he could just troll my horrible hair.
One of these days, dude, I am going to swallow my pride and pick up my phone and just do an Instagram thing.
Yeah, I mean, I have a face for, like, fucking not even radio. I have a face for, like, time capsules.
There it is.
I don't even know what that means, but... It's a thing. And another thing is our awesome sponsors. That is a segue for those of you who listen to podcasts. That was a good one. The best one. Huge. But anyway, our sponsors, they have been really awesome in staying with us during all of this craziness. So we would love to have you support them if you are able to during these times as well. So let's start off with the Bean Bastard. I drank a Nitro Coffee beer. I kind of wish the Bean Bastard would have maybe been the beans that they used for this beer. Probably would have tasted a little bit better. Sorry, Boulevard Brewing. There's your fair trade.
So fair.
Yes. But local company out of Buffalo, New York, 2-man operation. They have been doing really great things in their local area, donating coffee to hospitals and other essential workers and so forth. So head on over to thebeanbastard.com, get you some delicious coffee. Facebook and Instagram at thebeanbastard. On Point Pomade. Keep your hair and beard looking great during this pandemic if you are able to do such. Mine is in no shape to be helped at this point, but rest assured, as soon as I can go to a salon or somewhere and get my hair cut, I will be using my On Point Pomade. Go to onpointpomade.com, use our code BSP15 and get 15% off your total purchase order. And lastly but not leastly is rockabilia.com. They have over 500,000 items in their online store between all kinds of different bands, pop culture things, and you never have to worry about the integrity of the garments that you're getting. Is 100% licensed and guaranteed. So you're not only supporting Rockabilia, you're not only supporting this podcast, but some of the money goes back to the bands themselves. So it's a win-win-win situation. And if you're a first-time user, you'll see an ad pop up that says 10% off. Just follow that link, get get 10% off. Support Rockabilia for supporting us. And lastly, want to shout out Tom Smith again of the Acacia Strain for writing our intro music. He is obviously not touring. The Acacia Strain have been putting out some EPs. If you are able to support them, go ahead and do that. More importantly, and more to Tom, he is writing jingles. He's writing music, he's writing jingles, he's mixing, editing, podcast songs, whatever. If you are interested in having him do anything for you, hit him up on Instagram at tsmith678 and let him know that we sent you. And I can definitely say that you heard the music. The results speak for themselves. Quick turnaround and reasonable rates. So go support him in this time where he is willing to do some work for you. And for the BREWtally Speaking Podcast, I am John.
And I am Dan.
We will talk to you all next time.
Oh, that fucking sucked. Oh, that fucking sucked. Shao Kahn, what'd you think?
That was pathetic.
Yeah. Yeah. Coach, what'd you think?
Fucking embarrassing!
Okay. Okay. I mean, I knew it was gonna fucking suck, but I think those guys were a little rude. Austin Powers?
How about no?
Okay, I thought we were going to get the Austin Powers vote. We did not. John, use that for your podcast. It fucking sucks. But you knew what you were getting into. It's your own fault. It will result in less listens. You're going to see a decline in listeners if you start the show with that. You're going to see 30 seconds in, the number will plummet. And I will be there at the bottom of the plummet saying, I fucking told you. Don't use this fucking riff. It sucks. But it's yours.